for the title.
Going into the 1951 middleweight title fight with LaMotta, Robinson's record was 120 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws. I don't think that record will ever be equaled in the entire history of boxing.
Ray decided that maybe he needed a little extra edge and he was going to try and psych out LaMotta.
Ray liked to get this raw beef, you know, and he had an old orange squeezer.
The steak would go in there raw, and they would crush the steak.
You'd squeeze it down with a glass there and drink the blood.
And he had to drink that for stamina.
During the contract signing luncheon, Ray had the waiter bring out a glass of blood, and he drained it right in front of Jake, who, like, you know, his eyeballs rolled back and he got kind of nauseous, and then he offered one to Jake, but Jake really didn't want it. But he thought Ray was crazy.
The match was finally made for St. Valentine's Day, 1951. Robinson, brilliant strategist that he was, knew that LaMotta had trouble making the weight for this fight and decided to play the Matador against the Bull, and he made LaMotta work in those early rounds. By about the 10th, 11th round, LaMotta was pretty well spent, and that's when Robinson turned it on.
These are clean, whistling shots, lefts and rights. How he can survive them, nobody knows.
Robinson stopped the indestructible Jake LaMotta, and that fight came to be known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
And the new world middleweight boxing champion, Sugar Ray Robinson.
Back in the 1950s, most if not all of boxing was controlled by organized crime. The mob ran it. Frankie Carbo, who had been a member of Murder Incorporated, was the brains behind it all. And he had henchmen like Blinky Palermo, who operated in Philadelphia, who helped keep everybody in line.
I didn't realize that people could be so easily intimidated. I didn't realize people could be killed so easily, or threatened to be beat up, and threatened to get their legs broken and their arms broken. And these are things I heard about.
We know from Robinson's own lips that several times gangsters went to him in this period and just said, we don't want you to take a dive. Just carry this opponent or carry that opponent 10 rounds. We'll just bet the fight goes the distance.
During Ray's training for the LaMotta fight, he got a call one day from a man who identified himself as, this is Mr. Gray. Now, Mr. Gray, of course, was Frankie Carbo. His first words to Ray were, "I represent the Bull." Well, the Bull was Jake LaMotta. And Carbo wanted him to set up to deal with LaMotta, where LaMotta would win, Ray would win, and then there'd be a third fight that anybody could win. And Ray just said, "I'm sorry, but that's the way I don't do business that way." And that was the end of it.
It was a pretty courageous thing for Ray to do at the time, considering that Carbo was the biggest power in boxing. And he got away with it. They didn't come after him at all. And I guess the reason was that even a man like Carbo had respect for such a wonderful fighter as Sugar Ray.
I don't know all the answers, but I'm the greatest authority in the world on Sugar Ray Robinson. And I have some idea on just what he can do and what he can't do.
He was a pioneer in what he did. He was his own man. I respect him from him. George Gainford was his manager, but Ray was his man. He always called the shots. He was like Curt Flood in baseball as it is to boxing. If the fight wasn't right, he wouldn't fight.
Due to difficulties with the International Boxing Club and the television people, we rescheduled it for December the 12th.
If a promoter was promoting a Ray Robinson fight, he never really believed the fight was going to happen until Robinson was in the ring and they rang the bell. Because if he didn't feel right physically, he would pull out. If he wasn't satisfied with the financial negotiations, he might pull out. You never knew when Robinson was going to fight until he was in the ring.
The effect Doyle's death had on him is what made him realize that every time he stepped into a ring, he had to be compensated. His opponent's life was at risk, and maybe his life was at risk. It's what made Robinson become the Curt Flood of fighters. It made him be such a prick to negotiate. with. It's what led him to demand a cut of the film money, a cut of the radio, a cut of the TV money, to get the expenses up front, to renegotiate even after the contract is signed.
In my entire career, and a lot of it is involved in the entertainment business, Ray is without a doubt the best negotiator I ever met.
He was widely despised, but at the same time, while being an impossibly difficult and nasty negotiator, he did benefits.
Boxing's been very good to me, and I'm more than happy to donate my entire purse to the Damon Runyon Cancer Fund.
There are a lot of paradoxes about Ray Robinson, he was just an incredibly complicated person.
After winning the middleweight title in early 1951, Ray decided he was entitled to a holiday, take another tour of Europe.
We had 8 weeks of fights. We went to Italy, Milano and Torino. We went to Germany. Of course, we went to Paris, and I think Ray had a lot of little fun there too.
He was very popular with the women, and it's said that he left his legs in Paris. And then he was offered a match against Randy Turpin, who was the British Empire champion. He fought Turpin, and in a tremendous upset was outpointed in 15 rounds. It was a shock to the boxing world.
I had a very nice time in Europe. Very sorry that I did not bring back the championship, but I promise you I'll do the best I can September the 12th to bring the middleweight championship back to America.
In the summer of 1951, they fought a return fight in the Polo Grounds.
If you want to see a great fighter or a great athlete, see him when he's losing and how he reacts to that. And Robinson was losing the fight on points. I can still see the pictures of the blood coming across his face.
Ruby Goldstein, who was the referee, walked over to Ray's corner at the end of the 9th round and said to Ray, "Ray, your cut is very bad. I'm going to stop the fight." Ray said, "Give me another round." He said, "I'll give you one more round."
I said, "What did you think about when you saw the cut, you know, the blood?" He said, "Do or die."
Ray started to throw punches from all angles and caught up to Turpin and knocked him out in the 10th round.
The winner and the new middleweight champion of the world, Sugar Ray Robinson.
I think in the overall career, that was probably his greatest night.
Give me a kiss now. Give me one. Give Daddy a big kiss. You didn't hug?
Sugar Ray was one of the first black fighters who was an entrepreneur. And this was completely unheard of at the time, and I'm sure that it shook up the establishment a little bit.
Well, he had the block between 123rd and 124th Street. He owned all the buildings on the block. There was a bar and grill, a real estate office, a boutique, and he had a barber shop. So he had the block sewed up, really.
Sugar Ray's Club, I mean, you almost had to have a pass to get in there. You know, it was the spot in Harlem. It was one of the highlights of Harlem during that time. Had great musicians in there, had great food, and he would be there.
It was always a lot of fun there. Everybody came by to say, "Let's go to Sugar Ray's," you know.
Frank Sinatra would stop by, Nat King Cole, Jackie Gleason, Lena Horne. I mean, this was a hot club in those years.
I'm in very good condition. I'm very well inspired at this chance to gain the light heavyweight championship of the world.
On June 25th, 1952, Robinson challenged Joey Maxim for the light heavyweight title. He had already won the welterweight championship and the middleweight championship. And this was unprecedented.
Maxim 173 pounds, Robinson 157 and a half. A 15½ pound weight advantage for Maxim.
The fight took place on one of the hottest nights ever in New York City. Under the strong ring lights, the temperature was 105 degrees.
We were hollering and screaming, and he was beating Joey Maxim.